In the last session, we saw an overview of different categories of elementals as we move deeper into the heat model. First category of the elementals was what we termed as structural elementals. Spelling mistake here. So today we'll go deeper into first category of elementals called the structural elementals and see what are these structural elementals, how they function, and what is the psychophilosophical understanding behind them. To revise what we did in the last session, we said in the heat model, one of the very important components of the heat model is this whole set of elementals. And these elementals, which are fundamental entities which cannot be reduced to anything other than themselves. No further reduction is possible because by nature, by definition, they are elemental. It's almost like objects of Wittgenstein. So when we talk of elementals, we said elementals belong to three broad categories: structural category, process category, and the freedom category. And in each category, there are many types of elementals. So in the structural category of elementals, there are many elementals which constitute the structural category. Similarly, then the functional category or the process category of elementals, that is constituted of many categories, and in each category there are 5 to 20 elementals, and then you have freedom elementals. One by one we will see the structural elementals, the process elementals, and in process elementals one by one we will see motivational, generic, and so on, and lastly the freedom elementals. So today we are starting off with this category, structural elementals. So what are the structural elementals in the heat model? These are the structural elementals in the heat model. 8 of them, and if you want to add 3 more, you can add 3 more, making it 11. But this is an option. You can put these 3 in process elementals also. We'll discuss issues related to that. These 8 are the structural elementals. So let us go into it one by one and see what each of them are, what is their function, and what is the psychophilosophical understanding behind them. Some of these are taken from other schools of psychoanalysis, psychotherapy, yoga, spirituality, and some of them here, some of them are the ones innovated for development of the model. So let us go into them one by one. The first is the structural element called the psychic. So the idea of the human integer here to take as a base, it comes from Sherwin-Windows model. And Sri Aurobindo's model brings together the Tantra and the Yoga models. So the psychic is a term used by Sri Aurobindo, and by that he refers to the evolving self or the evolving soul. If you don't believe in reincarnation, the equivalent of this would be the self, Jung's self. Not Kohut's self or Winnicott's self, but Jung's self. If you believe in reincarnation, and that is the idea from where I have come and put it here, then it is the idea of the evolving soul called the psychic. And this is different from Winnicott's self or Kohut's self. So this is the evolving self or the evolving soul. And this is at the center. And the next layer to that is the layer of the karmic body. So there is this self, the psychic, then there is this karmic body. Then there is this masculinity and femininity, yin and yang. The idea is the psychic is in evolution across reincarnations, and there is a karmic thing which is accumulated, and based upon the soul journey of the psychic and the karmic compulsions, the yin and yang gets created to suit the karmic imperative and the soul journey. And based upon these three, then the five bodies get created. The five bodies refer to the thought body, the emotional body, the bliss body, the thought body, the emotional body, the life energy body, and the physical body. In fact, the interpenetrate, and if we look at the location, it's difficult to say, but it seems to be in front. The bliss body seems to be in front of the karmic body or behind the karmic body. There are different opinions on that, but we have these five bodies. And then to coordinate between these five bodies and all the variables which are at work in these five bodies, you have the chakras, which are the coordinating centers of all the five bodies, which hold them together. These are the nodal points where all the five come together, and interaction between the five takes place and the coordination of the five takes place. So the first part, this is more like Sri Aurobindo's model, this part. And to that is then added the collective unconscious of Jung, the personal unconscious, as Freud and Jung both talk about, and then the ego, which is partly conscious and partly unconscious. It is not, as Jung would say, completely in the personal conscious. This is more like the Freudian ego, which is partly conscious and partly unconscious. But this ego is thought of in two ways: a personality ego and a system ego. So the ego is constituted in this model in two ways: a personality ego and the system ego, and the personality ego is more like Kohut's self. The personality ego is also seen as ego in Sherbindo's model of the mind. Then there are these three variables. Feel. This is not feeling, but this is a faculty to feel in a fundamental way, in the sense this is coexistent with our existence. The fact with our existence there is a sort of feel, not the feeling of happiness or sadness, but a feel which is a very fundamental element, almost a kind of a entity which is yet to get mixed with any colored flavor to become a type of feeling. But there is, the moment you exist, there is a fundamental feel of existing. There is a fundamental awareness of existing. And there is a fundamental knowing of existing. And this knowing is very different from the knowing which is deployed as a faculty elemental, which we will see later. So probably this requires a new word instead of confusing it with the knowing as used in the faculty knowing. This is a knowing by identity. This can be rephrased as identity knowing. So these are pure feel, pure awareness, and pure knowing of one's existing. So these are the structural element, the first 8, and these 3 are equally structural in terms of their existing along with them. And they are not created out of some process which happens. They are coexistent with these elements. And therefore I have put it here. But if somebody feels that these 3 are process elementals, they can be shifted to the process elemental category also. But these are very clearly the structural elementals, and they create the structure. Just as bricks create a building, these elements create the structural aspect of the psyche. We will see graphically depicted the structural element of the psyche. So we will see there is a psychic, in front of it the karmic layer, in front of it yin and yang. All of them are encased in the 5 bodies, coordinated with the chakras, and then in front of the chakras we have the collective unconscious, the personal unconscious, and then the personality ego, which is very near to Kohut's self. So these are the structural elementals. As we go along, they will become more clear. If you have any questions, to let me know.